Hey folks, Two Peas and a Prov here. I'm making dinner tonight, and I'm going to try my hand at beer can chicken on our grill. So, because Nicole doesn't eat meat, I'm going to do two sides in addition to this, but I've already taken the chicken out, I've patted it dry with paper towels. It only calls for a half a can of beer. I'm using Yuengling Traditional Lager this time around. So we're going to reserve this half a can for another recipe that I'm making shortly. So I'm going to pour out as close to 6 ounces as I can and reserve that for later use. And then, boom. So, we are going to try and get this can up the chicken's butt. And then from there, I'm going to season it once it's seated. Alright, so I reserved a piece of like fat and skin from the backside that I'm going to put in this top hole here. Actually, I'm going to do that after we season everything, I think. So first, we are going to loosen the skin a bit so that I can get some seasoning down in the meats. And after I start doing all this, I'm definitely going to wash my hands before I touch the rub that I'm going to use. So, looks like that's about as best we're going to do for now. So I'm going to spray the chicken down with some cooking oil. This is just olive oil in this can here. We pump it up and we spray it down. This is, you could use Pam or whatever cooking oil some people tend to use. Avocado oil, what have you. I'm going to try to keep my left hand as my chicken hand so that I can touch other things with my right hand and not cross-contaminate. Except I already touched that cap. It's got to get washed. So now we're going in with this seasoning from Stone Mill. It is called Bold and Zesty. And that means the charcoal on the grill is ready. I really didn't think this whole thing out with touching chicken, but... So the charcoal is in the chimney and it's ready to be dumped and to preheat the grill so that we can get it up to temperature to roast this chicken. So I'm just going to try and use this rather vigorously. It's really tough if you're not eating the skin to get a lot of flavor in chicken meat because the skin and fat are going to block most of what you're trying to get on there. That's why I separate the skin from the breasts a little to get a little up in there. Maybe I should have seasoned it when it wasn't on. This is turning out to be a little more difficult than I had anticipated. Tuck this little wingy up in here. Oh, I'm definitely missing a lot of the back of this bird here. Just smack it on there. I'm going to have quite a bit of scrubbing to do when I'm done, but So I did not add any salt. This rub has plenty of salt, so I don't know how salty you guys like things. I try not to go too salty. So just be careful when you're using certain rubs, because some of them can tend to be really on the heavy end of the salt scale. I think this bird is looking pretty good. So I reserved a bit of the fat to plug the hole at the top so that the steam from the beer does not escape during the cook. So our bird is seasoned. I'm going to go dump some charcoal and we'll move on to the next step. Alright, so I am going to try to get a little smoky flavor in this beer can chicken today. So I am putting, after the grill is preheated, I'm putting 1 chunk of apple wood in there to get a good smoke going. I'm using a slow and sear so that all the coals are on one side. We're set up for indirect heat on this side of the grill. That's where I'm going to be placing the chicken. I'm using my gloves because I have to get really in there close to the coals. And we're going to seal this up and let this guy smoke for a couple hours. Alright folks, the first dish I'm going to be making is a mac and cheese. I'm using a white cheddar that we got at Aldi. Actually, all these cheeses we picked up at Aldi. I am using a vintage Irish cheddar cheese, as well as a Gruyere. So they're all white cheeses. It's going to be creamy, it's going to be delicious. We'll come back to it when I'm making the roux. So when I make a mac and cheese, I like to shred the cheese from scratch. It melts easier, gets a little creamier. There's the Gruyere here. As you can see, I'm wearing like a chainmail glove. Nicole picked this up at the market specifically for this purpose, or like other cutting, so we don't injure ourselves. As you can tell, it was made for someone with her size hands, not mine. I've got quite a bit of trouble of getting my hand in here, but we are grating the cheese as that water comes to a boil. Alright, we're going to add a little more butter to this. Once the butter melts down, I'm going to add some plain old flour to make a roux. Once that gets going well, I will add some milk, and I'm going to add the leftover Yuengling Lager that we secured from the original can that the chicken went into. So there's about half a can of beer there. I couldn't find any recipes for beer mac and cheese, but I've done beer fondues before and they turned out fantastic. So that's the Irish butter from Aldi. And we're going to mix this up. So I've seen some people do this with bacon fat. I prefer butter so that it's still vegetarian. So the lady can enjoy it as well. Would you still eat it if there was bacon fat in it?
I don't know. Probably not.
So I hope my theory comes out okay. If you notice, I'm adding a little bit of the flour at a time. You don't want it to thicken up, but you want to cook like the flour flavor out of it. You don't want flour flavor in your mac and cheese. So that was like 2.5 to 3 heaping tablespoons of flour there. So I am not a professional chef in any way, shape, or form, so we are waiting for the chicken to be done on the grill. You might hear my alarm go off for that, and we will abruptly pause. I am going to add the beer. Hopefully this gives a decent flavor dynamic, and the alcohol cooks off. Then I'm going to use the same measuring cup and add roughly 1.5 cups of water. Oh, 1.5 cups of milk. Sorry, Nicole was giving me hand signals there, but she's not talking much this video, so she could have corrected me. So, I'm adding a bit of garlic powder and a bit of smoked paprika here to kick up the flavor in the mac and cheese a little bit. I don't want to go a whole bunch of crazy stuff because mac and cheese should be pretty traditional, but I feel that it deserves a little bit of something, not just creaminess. We're going to start adding in some of the shredded cheese, a handful at a time until it melts, until this sauce gets the consistency we want to add to the macaroni. Alright, we are ready to add the cheese sauce to that macaroni and stir it around. Oh yeah. You pervert! Oh, what's that sound like? What's that sound like? Oh, yeah.
Stop with the noises.
I gotta mix it, sweetie. Oh, it's overflowing. I used the biggest pot we have. This is a 2-pound box of macaroni.
That's the perfect amount of cheese to macaroni ratio.
Yeah, you can just hear the perfectness of it.
Did you still have a bit onto the stove? Stop doing that.
Half. I spilled like 4 noodles. Oh, it's cascading over the side again. Alright, we're checking on the chicken here. It's been enough time, that should be done. I don't have a thermometer to test it. I suggest that you do have a meat thermometer to test. But this is what our bird ended up looking like after 2 hours in the Weber kettle smoking it. Alright, we are going to prep this with a bit of olive oil spray, some salt, pepper, and garlic powder, and get this asparagus on the grill. These are going to go direct over the charcoal, hopefully get some char on them. Alright, we're using a bit of a veggie seafood grill pan here to get the asparagus right over the coals. I'm just going to drop these on there and we're going to slowly try to sear them a bit. So they're so thin, I was afraid they're just going to pass through the grates if I didn't use some other intermediary. Alright, so here's my beer can chicken, my beer fondue mac and cheese, and some grilled asparagus. The beer can that was within the chicken was a Yuengling, and I am about to enjoy this feast for the first time. I've never made a beer can chicken before, I've heard amazing things, and I've been looking forward to this moment all day. Juicy, tender, flavorful, a hint of the smoke. Makes me think I should have used a little more wood, but delicious all the way. If you're going to make this at home, let me know. I think it's fantastic. Do it up.